All right. Here we are live right now. And I'm so excited and thrilled to be live with you right now. And the reason I'm doing this live is that a lot of my international clients are concerned of what's going on right now on a global scale around the world. And if you have been living on this earth, you may know that there is a kind of a new way of how things have begun in this 2025. And we are already talking right now of 2025 tariff war. It sounds a strong word, but for you who is in business and for you who has anything to do with business, or for you who is a normal common person watching right now, it's important to understand some dynamics. So, in this short intervention, in this short video that I'm going to share my thoughts, let me reframe it. I'm not going to dive into politics. I'm not going to dive if something is wrong or right. As a coach, my job is to give you perspectives. My job is not to tell you what you have to do or lead you to how you have to think or how you have to elaborate your thoughts and your convictions. My job is to give you different types of views, different perspectives, and then take up your own decision and make up your own steps. So as we dive in right now, and I would love to see your comments and drop me where you are watching me right now, which part of the world you are right now, where are you right now, and let's dive into this interesting topic, which is about the tariff wars that we are seeing right now. So just to pre-frame it, I'm going to give you a perspective in terms of human behavior, in terms of communication, and in terms of business strategy. I'm not diving into right, wrong politics or anything like that. So if that's what you expect, I'm sorry to let you down. So the first thing I would like to us to dive in and look in is let's observe the communication style. So let me give you a perspective in terms of communication that we have seen in these days throughout all the media. So for example, if we look at USA, Canada, Mexico, and China, these are the major players in this beginning of the year, we can notice that we have literally total different approaches in terms of communication. So if we look at the perspective of the communication of the US is using an assertive communication. What do I mean by that? It is a communication that sometimes may even sound confrontational. It's emphasizing their national economic interests and protecting their domestic industries. So obviously, this type of communication cannot have any space of doubt or weakness. This is a type of communication which may come across as a confrontation, as a fight. And there is a specific intention behind that. There is an intention to picture strength and resolution. And I'm reminded of when one of the journalists was asking directly the president a direct question, and the president immediately said, "No, there is no chance. There is no way." So this type of communication is so assertive and emphasizing their own interest, their own perspective, that it comes across as though there is no space of negotiation. Now, we all know that the USA president is somebody who has come from business, from doing deals, and is not used at all to lose a deal. So later on, I'm going to show you how this behavior reflects. But now let's mainly focus on the level of communication. So the communication of the US is assertive, and it's meant to protect the domestic interests, the domestic economy, and it comes strong and with zero negotiation. On the other side, the communication that we have seen from the leaders of Canada and Mexico in terms of how they deliver the message, I can tell you that based on my experience as an expert in effective communication, I can tell you that their communication is quite diplomatic. What do I mean by that? So these two countries have adopted a more diplomatic, soft approach. What do I mean by that? I mean that they went with trying to diffuse the tones. Obviously, they need to keep their face, and they had to say also, do you know what? If you continue like this, we will also set up tariffs on your products, on your goods. So this type of communication is kind of seeking a ground level of negotiation where we can find the middle term. And this can come from a principle of scarcity, from a principle of fear, or from a conservative perspective. What do I mean by that? The reason is they want to de escalate the tension. So their language is collaborative to lead to a de escalation of this situation. On the other hand, talking about communication style, let's talk about the communication style of China. In terms of economy and in terms of leadership, China has adopted a ambiguity strategy. What do I mean by that? So this ambiguity and the form it's showing in the communication, it's kind of balancing between staying firm on their point of view and not losing their reputation, and at the same time trying to be flexible, kind of let's wait on the door and see what effectively is gonna happen. And just to bring you terms, um, um, the China has been already in the last, I would say, 8 years, has been going through sanctions. Okay. Hello. Hello. Glad to see you. Okay. A lot of you are jumping in right now. As you're jumping in, let me just pre-frame. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about how these tariff wars may affect and may be involving human dynamics, power plays, and strategies. Okay. Okay, so now let's look at the behavioral type. If we look at the perspective of behavior, we can see that US is adapting a competitive behavior. What do I mean? When I do my training and I train businesses and I train people to become coaches, I always dive into observing the behavior because communication reflects a certain type of behavior. So if we look at the assertive communication, the behavior we can expect to see from US in this tariff war is simply a behavior which is related to being competitive. So US is exhibiting a competitive behavior where their interest comes as a primary focus. What do I mean by that? They are centered only on what is good for them. You see, we have different types of behavior. A behavior where you're doing things because it's good for you. You're doing things because you have fun. You're doing things because it's good for others and it's good for the global, in these terms, global economic. But if we look at the behavior of US, okay, this behavior is driven by a desire of maintaining dominance. So if you want to maintain dominance, you don't have a diplomatic level of communication. There is no level and no space for ambiguity. There is assertiveness. So how can they maintain the dominance in the economy? Simply by addressing everything through a political pressure. So this behavior aligns with a focus of winning and maintaining the status quo, maintaining the dominance. Now let's look at the behavior of Canada and Mexico. Canada and Mexico have displayed a more collaborative behavior, aiming to find a common ground to preserve relationships. Now, why is this important? This is important because if you look in terms of numbers, let me give you some macro data. In terms of numbers, Mexico relies on approximately 80% of exports in the USA. So, for example, all the vegetables, all the alcohol comes from mainly Mexico. And Canada is relying on about 73% of exports directly in US. So their behavior reflects their diplomatic communication. So they prioritize stability and mutual growth together. instead of confrontation. Now, if China has a strategic ambiguity, they are kind of on the fence. They're neither attacking, neither protecting themselves. Okay, so let's look at what type of behavior they are showing. The type of behavior China is displaying is an adaptive behavior. So, what do I mean by adaptive behavior? They are adjusting the strategies based on the evolving situation. They're not jumping on the horse, they're not jumping on the gun. They are adjusting day by day their behavior based on the evolving situation. And this includes leveraging on also alternative markets. If we look at the economies, in the last 6 years, China has reduced of over 40%, which means they have increased their collaborations with other partners, with other markets. They have been able to adapt, and adaptation means also diversification in their trade partners. Okay, so this is what we are looking at in terms of communication style perspective. Now, if we look at, oh, somebody's watching from Texas. Hello, my friend. Okay. Yes, yes, I've just read now your chat. You're coming from Texas. Yeah, I'm from London right now, and I'm streaming from London. Glad to see you. And as you can see, I'm not talking about politics, although you are from Texas. I'm just giving a perspective in terms of decoding the power plays and the strategies of human dynamics. So that's what it is. No, I'm not on Discord. Yeah, you can join my community. I'm gonna put all the links. You can find me everywhere. I'm a business strategist. I'm a peak performance coach, and I observe the real world from the eyes of a coach and giving some insight to my audience. So thank you for joining in, and thank you for collaborating. And you can ask me any type of question. The second aspect I'd like us to dive in is, let's look at the business strategy perspective. What do I mean by that? Let's look at how USA, Canada, Mexico, and China are dealing in terms of business strategy. So, if we understand the level of communication and if we understand the behavioral type that these countries are displaying, we can now look at what are the business strategies. Obviously, USA trying to maintain the dominance, okay? They are displaying a business strategy which is all related to protecting. So US is adopting a protectionist strategy. So using tariffs to kind of protect domestic industries from foreign competition and to force the domestic manufacturing in the country. So US would rather say, do you know what? Don't get anything from abroad. Let's develop our infrastructure, our manufacturing plants right now inside home. So reducing the dependency on imports. Now, this is going to be a long process. Now, I will dive into looking at long and short term perspective, but let's first of all look at what are the business strategies. If we look instead at Mexico and Canada, their business strategy that they should be looking into is kind of diversification. Why? It is so dangerous for Mexico and for Canada to rely only on one main partner. As I gave you the macro numbers earlier, Canada is relying on 73% of their GDP is relying on exports in the US, and Mexico is nearly 80%. So they need to start looking at business strategy of diversification. In fact, Canada is starting to look more into Europe. And this is going to open a door because Mexico will start trading even more with China. So US, Canada and Mexico, in terms of business strategy, they are trying to now to look into reducing their reliance on the US market and strengthening ties with other partners. It's not going to be an easy game, okay? But that's what they should be looking into, and that's what they are looking into. Now, when you look at, instead of China, China's business strategy is more of innovation and retaliation. I mean, it was just a couple of days ago that there was this boom in the market of AI where nobody thought that China would be able to develop in such a short term and such a short time an AI such competitive as OpenAI, as ChatGPT. So if you look at the behavioral types, China is trying to demonstrate that they're able to adapt, they're able to evolve, and they're able to innovate. So what happens? With this retaliation and innovation, China is trying to get into a game which is minimizing the impact with the US tariffs and strengthen global economic position. Okay? All right, perfect. Now, the last point I want to dive in as I'm getting to an end is getting into analyzing, excuse me, excuse me, analyzing the motivations behind each country's action. Now, my mentor, Tony Robbins, is the master in this. Tony Robbins talks of why do we do what we do. So now let's look at why countries are doing what they're doing. We have seen the communication, we have seen the behavior. Now let's look at this tariff war in terms of human dynamics. So if we look at it in terms of human dynamics, we can see that obviously in this situation, China and Mexico and Canada in this situation, Mexico and Canada in this situation are definitely searching for certainty. So they're looking for stability. They're looking for stability and predictability in the trade relations. So what does it mean? They are going to prioritize a long-term partnership which can bring stability rather than economic insecurity. And let's look at what US is doing. US is behaving in a term of searching for significance. What does it mean? The reason why they want dominance is to maintain an importance in the global market, which translated in human behavior is absolutely significance. And sometimes you can get significance by improving, evolving, adapting, investing more, or you can find and meet significance by putting sanctions, putting restrictions, putting tariffs. So again, I'm not diving into politics. I'm just bringing a perspective and looking at a human dynamic perspective, okay? So when we look at Canada and Mexico, they're also trying to get into connection. So if we look at the 6 human needs of Tony Robbins, we have at the base, we've got certainty, the need of stability, the need of security. Then we've got variety, so kind of change, evolving, getting something new, getting out of the boring stuff. And then we've got connection, trying to be part of a community. That's why most countries are trying to be part of something. We've got the countries being part of NATO, we've got the countries being part of the G20, G7, and now we've got BRICS, the emerging economies getting together. That is a need, an action which is motivated by closing new ties. And then we've got significance. Significance is the need of being dominant. Significance is the need of being always relevant in the market. Now, why am I giving you these human dynamics? Because if we understand and we observe the trade war that is going on right now, and we observe it from human dynamics, we can then have we can also now predict what's going to happen. How many of you have seen what happened when US sent 2 planes to Colombia, deporting Colombians back, and the Colombian president refused, denied the landing of the plane? What happened? Immediately, assertive communication. immediately competitive behavior and immediately significance. If you don't allow them to land, we are going to bring in 50% tariffs. And what happened? Immediately, the president of Colombia bailed, backed down, and allowed the plane to land. So, this type of communication is to reinforce the need of significance. Now, let's observe what are going to be the consequences in short term and in long term. So, in short term, USA is focusing on prioritizing on an immediate economic gain. What does it mean? Immediate dependency from other countries, and on the long term, they are going to invest more on creating new jobs, creating new businesses, and allowing other foreign companies to come and manufacture in US. So obviously, Trump is a deflation president. And in order to get out of this inflation, you need to create somehow an artificial or real recession. Why? By imposing tariffs, there's going to be a short term pain for the US citizens, but it's going to be a long term gain because now these tariffs, that, by the way, do you know who pays the tariffs? It's not China, Mexico, Canada who pay the tariffs. The tariffs are being paid by the people who import the goods from abroad. So at the customs, they will have to pay 25%. Now, if you are a business owner and you have a ship coming from China and you know you have to pay X amount of tariff, you would restrain to do that the next second time because you would find solutions and you'll probably get on to produce it in homeland. That's all the reasoning. Now, this is going to be a short-term pain for the US citizens, but probably, I'm not sure, this may be a long-term gain in terms of economics for the US country. Now, what happens for Canada, Mexico, and China? In the long terms, they will need to start searching for new ties for economic benefits, and they will need to start learning how to negotiate with such an assertive communicator as US. Assertive negotiator, somebody who does not get any no as answer. Now, this may take, at the beginning, this may be again a short-term pain, but probably if played well, if role played well, this may be a long-term gain for everybody. At the end of the day, we are getting the global economic is going to be affected. Also for my friends who are in Europe, I'm in Europe, okay? I'm based in UK and I've got businesses in Bulgaria and also in Italy. The US president said also that, do you know what? We are going to also apply tariffs in Europe. So this is going to affect us directly as European citizens because European companies, when they will have to sell the goods, they will not just bear the cost of paying that. That cost will come down as a water flow, as a snowball, will come down to you as a consumer. So I wanted to share with you my thoughts on this and give you some insights of how these power plays and how these strategies are working and give you a perspective in terms of human dynamics. Thank you so much for watching, and if you are interested, share this video with your colleagues, with your friends, with your families, with your accountant, with your lawyers. Share this video because it's allowing you to have a different perspective of what's going on right now in the world. And as a coach, my job is to give you different points of view. And if you are interested in having a chat with me or with my team and to see how we can support you and help you and work together, my team has created a questionnaire that you can just fill in. And for all of you who are watching me for different platforms, I've just posted it in right now. You can just look into it and click on it. dive into that questionnaire. It's a coaching questionnaire where I will jump in and answer and provide you value and support you directly. So fill in the questionnaire and you may have the chance to speak with me directly or speak with a member of my team, and we can see together how through a business strategy or a coaching consulting approach, we can help you and support you in this. And let me just let you know one thing. Winter is right now. What does it mean? Every season in economics is relevant. And right now, we are facing and dealing with the winter. And the president already told the citizens we may have some hard times, but we will gain way more later on. Now, I'm not sure about that. I do not know. As I said, I don't want to dive into politics, but I want to tell you, you need to become your minister of finances. So you need to be able to be aware of this. And my contribution is to give you a coaching perspective as an expert of human behavior and an expert of effective communication. Thank you so much for uh, tuning in, joining in, and see you uh, on the other side for another video, another contribution, again live, so I can interact with you and I can see your comments and your opinions and your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Moses and I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to make sure that you live that outstanding life that you were created to live and enjoy that outstanding benefits of your business that you were created to live. Thank you so much. See you on the other side. Ciao.